Up next, a woman goes crazy at the doctor's office when they ask her male child if he ever feels like a girl.
I don't know if I'm about to be dragged for saying this or not. Maybe it's because I was in prison for a decade and I just didn't see society evolve. But
Damn.
I took my son to the pediatrician. This happened and I'm highly effing offended. Okay, so my son plays sports. In order to be actively participating in the sports at school, you have to have a sports physical on file every single year. I took him to the pediatrician for this sports physical. Whenever any of us go to a doctor's visit, we all know that they do the triage. They do the blood pressure, the height, the weight, and all that right when you get there. And so when we get there, they're going to take him to do the triage like they do any other time. What ended up happening was they put us in a room without doing triage. When they put us in the room, they called my son out by himself and she was like, oh, we're just going to go do the weight and the height and everything. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. They took him around the corner and I could see like the side of his chair and I could see like half of his body, but I couldn't see like the little nook that she was in where she was writing everything down. You know, it was not a big deal, but I kind of just stuck my head out, just a peek, you know. I'm a mom and I'm nosy.
It's your child.
I want to see what's going on. So I'm just standing in the doorway of the patient room and I'm like watching him. I end up seeing that after she does the blood pressure, the height, and the weight, she ends up handing him a clipboard with a piece of paper. In my mind, I'm like, oh, that's peculiar. Number one, I've already answered all the health questions, like the medical history. Number two, why would you give it to a 12-year-old kid? Like, he doesn't know his medical history. But again, like, I've already answered all that. So what the heck is that form? But I did want to help. So I thought, let me walk over there and just make sure he doesn't need my help with any of these questions. I end up walking over there. I look over his shoulder and I see that, you know, he's checking things off and he's answering questions. And I'm like, all right, good job, babe. Like, you know, you're answering everything on your own. You've got this. You're growing into a great little man, very independent, self-sufficient. It's all good. I'm going to leave it alone. I'll talk to him about what they were asking later and make sure that he understands the severity of answering these questions accurately because it has to do with health. Or so I thought. So I walk away and I go back into the room. About a minute or so later, he comes back in the room with the nurse and he sits down. The nurse closes the door and she's like, the doctor will be in a minute. Before I could even utter one word, my son looks at me and says, Mom, that was the weirdest form I've ever had to fill out. Of course, now my interest is piqued and I'm like, what kind of form was it? He's like, they asked me if I was
gay, straight, or bisexual.
They asked me if I felt like I was the gender that I was assigned to at birth. They asked me if I ever felt like I was a different gender. They asked me what gender I identify best with, how much I ate every day, how many hours I slept, and things that I know that they ask during psych evaluations at the prison. That's where they ask you in that type of setting, like in mental health settings. Everything was kind of weird at that moment, and in my mind, I instantly got pissed the hell off. So the doctor comes in a few minutes later, and I'm like, hey, doc, I don't know when you guys started this, but I don't appreciate you guys giving a 12-year-old that form, particularly my 12-year-old, when you don't know if that subject matter has been even discussed in our household. You don't know if he knows what these words and terms mean. For the record, he does.
I'm not sure. I wonder if she's like located in like a very liberal or progressive state like California, because Governor Newsom qualified teachers as snitching if they tell parents that their child is on gender affirmation care, like it's not the parent's business.
I mean, I think most 12-year-olds probably do, but that's besides the point. They don't know that. You don't know if now I'm going to have a conversation with my child discussing why he's being asked this, what the relevance is to his life, and explaining things that he may not have previously known and I didn't want to discuss just yet because I didn't think it was age appropriate. You can't make that generalization because the reality is that 12-year-olds, most of them, they're not engaging in sexual behavior. And everything they hear is just from social media. They don't even know a lot of the time at that age, like what actual real information is, like what is legit and what they just hear on social media and from their friends. They might not know what your birth assignment was. They might not know what transitioning is. And why would they if it hasn't been something that's come up in their household before? And you wouldn't know that because you didn't bother to ask. So at the very least, I would have appreciated if you would have brought that to me, said, hey mom, scan this real quick. If you're okay with us giving it to your child, then, you know.
That would make sense.
That would have been fine. But you didn't. You did it in a sneaky way. You put us in the room together. Then you called him out by himself. And then you gave him this form, this very explicit form with very detailed, personal, invasive questions. And you didn't even bother to give me a heads up. What if we had never discussed that before and he got in the car and now all of a sudden he wanted to know all these things and I was thinking that it's not age appropriate. I was going to wait till he was 14 or 15 and now you've just created a problem. Or what if you have a very impressionable and naive child and now you actually have planted a seed to where they're going to go searching. So she's like, oh, well, you know, we just want to be inclusive and afford the opportunity for every kid to feel comfortable. And I said, I understand inclusivity and I understand leaving no child behind or their feelings. That's valid. But there's a difference between recognizing that a child needs to talk to somebody about something that they may not be able to talk about at home and introducing subject matter and planting a seed about something that has never come up. And you wouldn't know what case you're dealing with because you didn't bother to ask the parent. I flipped out. I left. I'm not going back. When did they just start discarding the parent's role in this whole situation? You're going to take a 12-year-old's word on all of this stuff without even consulting the parent? What if he would have answered those questions crazy because he didn't even know what the hell was going on? And then now there's a case of, oh, the parents not wanting this or not allowing that, but we're going to still take this kid and like, what? My mind spun out. So I just want to know what you guys think. Please don't come on here talking about I'm phobic this and phobic that. I'm not. When you take a child to go do something without the parent's knowledge or consent, it feels very sneaky and very shady, and I didn't appreciate it. Okay, felt like there was some kind of agenda or narrative that was underlying here that was pushed upon my child. It is not aware of, and I don't approve. I figured I could get some insight from the world and just see, I don't know, just put some feelers out there, you know, before I blow a gasket and go prison on the medical staff. Because that's not what I want to do. But maybe I'm overreacting and this is like the norm.
You're not.
I just don't feel like it is. And if it is, I don't feel like it should be. Love you guys. I will see you guys in the next one.
You're definitely not overreacting. I'll say that to you right now. But I will say it is your gender's fault. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. We've opened up Pandora's box and y'all are so inclusive and y'all want to make sure everybody feels good that this is the type of shit that you have to deal with. Blame yourself. Look around, blame your sisters.
I just pulled over to do this video because I'm literally on fire.
Yeah, boy, look, he heated.
I just got off the phone with my wife, who took my 9 and 7-year-old boys to the doctor today to get physicals for tackle football and school next year and all that other shit. My 9-year-old son went in first, and the first thing this woman asks him is if he identifies as a boy, a girl, gender fluid, or non-binary. My son, he's never heard of any of that shit before. You've been dealing with him your whole life. He is clearly a boy's boy. So what are you, trying to plant a fucking seed?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
In his head? The only thing I could be thankful for is that my wife took them instead of me. And props to my wife because she said something. And if she didn't, they would have asked my 7-year-old son the same damn question. This shit is ridiculous. And to the people out there that think that there's nothing wrong with that and I'm just a transphobe or all that shit, you're fucked up. This is bullshit. And there's something wrong with you.
I don't want to sound phobic of any manner because a phobia means a fear of, and I am not afraid of gay people or trans people or them being gay or trans. But what I will say to this is that trans people and homosexuals are not procreating. Now they may adopt. I don't usually see that happening. Sometimes that happens, but usually not. They are not procreating, so they don't have the necessary understandings of what it means to be a parent and how you put everything into your children and you do the best that you can to protect them from this world. And so their ideologies and thought process, they want to impose those thoughts onto somebody because they don't have their own children to impose them on. So they will try their best to impose them on your children. It doesn't even make any sense because their line is going to stop after they pass away because of their life choices. You know, but more power to them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking them.
All right, Oregon parents, listen up. This is what they're pushing on middle schoolers here in the state. The Oregon Health Authority, state of Oregon, are sending out questionnaires to 6th graders, asking them their sexual identities and sexual orientation. As you can see on the form here, it's asked if they're a two-spirit, if they're a demi-girl or a demi-boy, boy or man, gender fluid, gender queer. It goes down the list. It asks for their sexual orientation, straight, lesbian, gay, bisexual, pansexual. I mean, this is just some of the most disgusting things that our own government pushes on our kids, in this case, 6th graders. This kind of stuff needs to stop. And this is why students in Oregon are failing at reading, writing, and math, because our government, our education system is more interested in their sexual orientation and what they identify as. Just complete nonsense. You can opt out of this. There is a opt-out form. You guys can go on the OHA website or ask your school how to opt out, but this is what they're pushing on your kids. You need to know about this. Share this video. Let people know. They are trying to indoctrinate our kids. They want your kids. They want your kids. Yeah. We have to stand in the gap for them and stand in the gap against this nonsense.
If it wasn't something that was kind of like a psyop, then there would be an opt-in. They would say, do you want this? But you have to opt out. That's intentional, right? Secondly, men, I'm gonna bring men to task, because you allow women to push this crazy agenda, attaching it to civil rights, creating DEI, and making this a minority of people because of their sexual preference. And this is what we get. Pandora's box is already open. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. This is what you're gonna get when you don't stand up for what is right, especially under God.
Hi TikTok, thank you for the warm welcome and thank you for all of the excitement around my video. I also wanted to address this genuine question, which I appreciate, of somebody trying to understand why are we asking teens this question. So first I'll start by saying that every adolescent starting around the age of 11 or 12 should have an opportunity to talk to their doctor by themselves, and these are some of the questions that I'm asking patients during that time. I'm also not trying to put anybody inside of a box. I recognize that there's, again, a spectrum and a journey about figuring out who you are and how you identify. I'm simply trying to provide an affirming space for people to explore that and to understand that answers like "I don't know" are perfectly okay. Lastly, the reason why I want to know that is because we know that especially if there are situations of rejection in families, that LGBTQ plus or queer youth are more likely to experience mental health concerns and even safety concerns. And so I want to make sure that I'm having the office be a very safe place to be able to pick up on any of that, to be able to get people the support that they need. Second, it helps me understand what potential risks are related to any sexual contact that young person might be having, depending on what kind of partners they have. So it's really actually super important for both your mental health and your physical health. So definitely feel free to, if you're in an affirming space and you have that trusting relationship with your doctor, to be able to share that information. And I hope this helps people understand. Thanks.
It shows us how weird y'all are. This is crazy because these social agendas have given government spaces, government entities, the idea that they know better for your children. And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these people don't even have children. They haven't even experienced the joy of parenting or giving birth or creating life. They don't even have that, right? But they think because of their education that they have a better understanding, a better grasp of what your children needs more than you. And the crazy part about it is most people aren't gay. Let's ask guy in the chair. You know he's liberal, so this might be a little difficult, but I'm game. Guy in the chair, you there?
I'm here and ready. Just let me know what else you need.
What is the percentage of people that represent or consider themselves LGBTQIA+ in America?
Right now, about 9.3% of US adults identify as LGBTQ+.
So there you have it. They're doing this screening process to find the 9% of people out of the 91% who identifies this way.
So my sister took her child to the pediatrician's office, just routine checkup, and this was part of the questionnaire. I'll post it again at the end for a longer period so that you can actually look at it. Mind you, this is a pediatrician's office. It's talking about their sexual orientation. Are they straight, gay, bi, lesbian? These are children in a doctor's office. Do you identify as a gender other than the sex that you were assigned at birth? What are your preferred pronouns? Have you made any surgical changes to match your identity? Children. No more. We are done allowing this to be normalized.
Sure fault.
This is not normal. Boys cannot be girls. Girls cannot be boys. And doctors' offices should stop pushing this gender crap. This is St. Alphonsus. If you want to send a clear message, stop going there.
This is just a warning, just to show you that these type of things are happening in doctor's office and probably in school. It seems like a government psyop where people are pushing these liberal agendas and parents are just totally unaware. That's why I did this one.
Everybody shut the fuck up. Hey, Shut the fuck up. Let me tell you something right now.
If you made it this far, check out the video we just did where black women admitted and gave their experiences of working with other black women.